afternoon, everybody, from the Financial Planning Institute side. It is lovely to see almost 200 people in this meeting, and still people are coming in. Um, from the Financial Planning Institute and from myself, Nikki McDonald, I am the head of Department for Education, Certification Standards, and also Consumer Education. And we want to welcome our three lovely CFP members who has given their time to us this afternoon to speak to our consumers. Our theme at FPI for this month is back to life, back to reality. We all know that during December we spend all our money and we have holidays, and December, Nikki doesn't think about what January Nikki is going to feel. And unfortunately, it always works that way. So what we're here to tell you today is how to set yourself up for success in the next year. And what little things and plans actions you can put in place to make sure that you are not sitting in the same situation that you are this year. So I am going to give straight over to Hannah. She's going to introduce herself and then just speak to you for about 15 minutes. Then she will give over to David, who will add his take on things, and then over to Anelisa. And at the end, we'll answer all your questions. We'll bring everybody back and we'll answer all your questions. So if there is anything, please feel free to type it in the chat box, or at the end, we'll allow you to and open your speaker so that you can actually chat to us. Thank you so much, Hannah. Straight over to you.
Thank you so much, Nikki, and thank you to everyone joining today. I'm Hannah Myburgh, and I work at Crew Invest in Cape Town. I'm one of the financial planners at Crew Invest. And today I'm going to be discussing with the theme Back to Life, Back to Reality. I'm going to speak about how to form financially smart habits. So hopefully you joined this webinar today to get some tips and tricks and some ideas of how you can turn your financial situation around, or just to know that you're on the right track or get some motivation. So whether you're coming out of your holiday season or you're still on holiday or trying to get back into the swing of things at work, or you're looking to just hit the reset button on your financial situation, today we're just going to look at some good habits that will positively affect your future going forward. So I know it can be quite overwhelming going from one year to another and feeling like you're stuck in the same financial patterns. But remember, it's never too late to form new habits. You can always form new habits and make changes, and you'll see you'll progress over time as looking backwards. So I'm going to start by talking about the importance of financial habits and why we would want to form them. So whether it's budgeting or saving or investing, the small decisions that we make on a daily basis have a big impact on our financial lives over time. So I like to think of financial habits the same way as physical exercise. So you don't get fit by going to the gym once. It's consistent daily habits that compound over time that get you there. And similarly, you don't build wealth in one day. So you do it by making small, smart, consistent choices over time. An example of how you can do this, and this is quite a simple example, but if you I want to say the bad habit of getting a takeaway coffee on the way to work, instead of packing your own, or possibly getting coffee at work, you could break this habit and save quite a bit of money over the long term. So 40 Rand coffee every day for 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, is about 10,000 Rand a year just spent on that coffee on your way to work. So if you just break these habits, you can make a big change in the long term. That could be money that's invested in an investment for the rest of your life until you retire. So you want to create the foundation that's going to allow you to handle unexpected expenses with a buffer so that you can achieve your goals. So if you don't have a buffer in place, or you don't feel as though you have financial security, this can cause a lot of stress, sometimes put you in debt, and you might miss opportunities that you might want to have take part in if you're not in a good financial situation. So the next part that I'm going to speak about is evaluating your current financial situation. So I feel that this is the hardest part. This is almost your financial reality check. So you might want to ask yourself today, what does your budget look like? Do you even have a budget? How much debt do you have? And what's your strategy on managing that? Are you saving for anything? So maybe think about anything that you want to achieve in the next couple years or in the next couple months. Are you saving for retirement? Any emergencies that you think might come up? What are you busy planning for financially? So I know this can be a bit of an uncomfortable one, looking at where you stand today. But most clients that we see over time, they become wealthy because they have the right financial habits, not because they earn a lot of money. So I know the trend is how to make lots of money, but it's forming these smart financial habits. So how are we going to do this? The term habit stacking has it's quite a new term and it's become quite popular, but it's been around for some time, this idea. So if you had to write down a list of your current habits and then write down a list of habits you want to form, you could essentially stack them on top of each other. So if you want to form a new habit, take a habit that you already have and add it to that habit. So an example of this would be not financially related, but if you were to want to start remembering to floss your teeth at night. I mean, you're in the habit of brushing your teeth, so you may as well add flossing to the list too. And essentially, James Clear speaks about this in his book, Atomic Habits, if you want to give it a read. But this habit stacking can be one of the ways to form good habits, whether it is financial or not, I guess. So the one habit that you do want to get into is tracking your spending. So in this instance, ignorance is not bliss. You can't control what you don't measure. So just pretending that you don't know what's going on and you don't know what's in your bank account and what's not is not great. This is the first habit you're going to have to develop is to track your money. So whether you're using an app or an Excel spreadsheet or even a pen and paper, it doesn't matter as long as you continue to track these expenses. The best way to do this, if you're wondering how do you start this, is to print the last 3 months' bank statements, write down and categorize where you spent your money, and look to see and ask yourself, are there areas that you can cut back? Looking at things that come off like subscriptions that you're not using. Are there any impulse purchases that you feel you didn't actually need to buy on that day? Is there any money that you could save or reallocate towards debt if you have any? And you can also stop and think about, do I really need to purchase this item today? So it's good to have a clear picture of your financial situation so that you can make intentional choices when deciding to purchase something. So the second habit is essentially building an emergency fund and keeping an emergency fund. So this is typically the first thing that will keep you out of debt. So we all know life is unpredictable and unexpected expenses pop up. So it's good to aim to at least have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up if an emergency were to rise up. So if you feel as though you don't have this, you can always start small, set aside 500 to 1,000 Rand a month and save it in a savings account. It's all about consistent behavior. So if you don't have an emergency fund yet, you can start today, use a savings account with your bank and make a habit of contributing regularly. The third habit is to automate your savings. So you might think, okay, I'll just see what's available at the end of the month and I'll put that towards my savings. Often, if we were to do this, we wouldn't save anything over time. So right after you receive your salary, you should automate your payments to your various investments and savings accounts to make sure that essentially you're paying your future self first. So you don't have to worry about missing a payment or running out of money at the end of the month. By automating these kinds of things, you also don't forget and it becomes consistent and essentially forms a habit. So if you take all of those 3 habits together, we look at that and we go, okay, well, that sounds quite easy to do, but we need to stay motivated and we need someone to hold us accountable. So it's good to set clear goals and realistic goals. So we want to be able to meet our goals. We want to celebrate our goals. We want to break our goals down into smaller pieces so that it feels like we're making progress. So they always say, how do you eat an elephant? Piece by piece. So it's also good to track this progress. So if you're a tick box kind of person, once you've ticked something off, you can put a nice green tick next to it and move on to the next objective. Then having support. So, often we say to a friend, we're going to go on a run tonight. And I don't know if you're telling them that so that they hold you accountable, but you need to get that support, whether it be family, a friend, or even your financial advisor. Just having someone check in to make sure that you can stay accountable. So you're often likely to stay motivated when you have someone sharing this journey with you. Again, whether it's a family or a friend, or someone that's helping you out. So I think the 3 things that I'd like to finish off sharing today is, if you feel like you haven't started saving and you're not sure where to start, just start small, but start now. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen over time and you can build on from there. And also be kind to yourself. So you're not going to get it right from the beginning. There's going to be mistakes. You're going to have regrets, but there's learning in everything. And the goal is progress and not just perfection each time. And then stay consistent. So keep showing up, keep achieving your financial goals. And over time, you'll see that these consistent actions have a big positive impact on the rest of your life. So I hope you're feeling a little bit inspired and have some things to implement in your financial world, and that will serve you for the years to come. I would like to hand over to David to continue with his section of the webinar.
Anna, thank you so much for doing that and giving that. When looking at the topic, I tried to make something which was a bit of a play on words, and we all speak about January worry. So I'm going to be speaking about stop being a January worrier and becoming a January warrior. So yeah, I realized the title is a bit of a tongue twister for myself and get it right, but it's essentially, how do you stop worrying about the past and what you've done and going into being a warrior for the future? So I'm going to kick off and talk about that. So if I was to say to you, you worried and you're sitting about credit card debt. So did you rely on your credit card for your holiday spending? Having high balances, do you have anxiety about that? Do you have any overspending regret? I mean, being in the moment could be quite fun, and just whipping out the card and getting on with it and enjoying yourself, which is great, but the hangover always happens the next morning. So what does it look like the next morning? Are you thinking and going, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have performed that action? Have you used all your savings? Were you disciplined during the year and built up that emergency fund, and then decided your emergency is actually having fun during the break and the Christmas break and on holiday, as opposed to what it was intended for in the first place? Do you have any unclaimed expenses or unplanned expenses that are leading to a financial strain? So because you've depleted your resources, you use your credit card, and that, do you have those expenses which you didn't plan for and are there? Is there an income gap? We all know that it's all fun, and many employers actually pay us early. So we're breaking the cycle of a 30-day month leading to a 6-month long month. So are we now thinking, well, it's days just before payday and there is month left at the end of the money, as opposed to money left at the end of the month? If these symptoms are something that you see on, you might be a January worrier. How do we turn you into a January warrior? And again, Hannah has given some really great tips to look at. And this is the problem with going second in a live session like that. So I'm going to build on some of the things that Hannah has spoken about and hopefully add one or two more tips to that. So if you're a January warrior, okay, you are somebody who is proactive. You've taken proactive steps to manage your finance rather than having your finances dictate to you. You have become a master of your money rather than being a servant of your worry. You are disciplined. You stick to financial discipline. You have a budget. You save regularly. You have decided that I'm not going to forego fun because I still want to have fun, but I'm going to have planned fun. Okay, it might sound like it's not something you do, but it really is. And in fact, by having a plan in place and sticking to a plan and having discipline, you actually end up having more fun because you have none of the after party regrets, none of the financial hangovers to worry about. Are you resourceful? A January warrior is someone who finds creative ways to increase their income, to reduce the expenses. Hannah spoke about that cup of coffee on the way to work. Do you rather pool your funds and buy a coffee machine where you can make pretty much the same cup for a lot cheaper? Are you resilient? Okay. And resilience is about not the fact that accidents don't happen, that setbacks don't happen, because they do for all of us. But how do you bounce back from those? Are you able to go, if a financial setback happens, I've got a plan in place to bounce back from that setback, and I couldn't put it in place. If that is you, you are a January warrior. January warriors are informed. They educate themselves about personal finance and make informed decisions. So just being on this webinar means that if you were worried, you're taking a step to arming yourself and becoming a warrior. So what are some of the things that set you up for success and get you to this point? Well, the first one is having clear financial goals. So do you have goals? Are they documented and are they available to you to pull up and read anytime? Some short-term goals might be, I want to pay off the holiday that I've just been on, or the debt that I've built up on the holiday. It could be that you've now listened to Hannah and you haven't had an emergency fund, but you're going to start one not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. Or do you have a specific purpose? Do you have a special thing that you're saving for? We've got Valentine's Day coming up in 14 days. Are you planning something for your significant other during Valentine's Day? Are you planning a single Valentine's Day? What is that short-term plan? Your goals could be long-term. So what am I looking like for retirement? What would I like my retirement to be like? Do I want to change and move home? Do I have something specific to invest in? My education, my child's education, a friend's education. What are those specific goals? Documenting and writing down those goals means that you've got a battle plan that you can always refer back to and get yourself back on track. I cannot overemphasize the importance of having a budget. So have I looked at, do I know my sources of income? Do I know when I get paid? And do I know what my expenses are? Okay. And I use the word know, not think, because quite often what we do in a budget exercise is we write down what we think and it looks pretty good. But at the end of the month, the reality is not there. So it's making sure that not only do you start writing down a budget, but you actually manage the budget and monitor and review your spending on a monthly basis, and then go in and adjust as required. Have you built an emergency fund? And again, that's been covered. Start small. Okay. If you've got 10 Rand a month to put away, start with that. But consistency is key. And I agree with that totally and utterly. It's not something that you do once off. It is something that you do and you form your habit. Increase your income. Okay. And there are ways of increasing your income. You could start a side hustle. Okay. Do you have a hobby? Do you have something that you do for fun? Do you do something that you could freelance on? Okay. Again, I put the caution, chat to your employer if you are employed first, and make sure you're allowed to do these kind of things. But there is a way of going, if I've got a hobby, for instance, something that I enjoy doing, is there a way that I can turn that hobby into money? If you enjoy sewing, knitting, crafting, making things. Can you go register an Etsy account and start selling those things? Can you register an account with Amazon, who's just come into South Africa, and start selling some of the things you're making and earn additional income from that? There's also a way of re-looking at your expenses. Okay, so if you cannot increase your income, look at your expenses and lower your expenses in creative ways. If you can't do a side hustle, what about looking at in your employment, what is required from you to move up around? Is it something where I need to go and invest in education? I need to invest in myself and grow and learn new skills, which will help me either move up or move into a job which is higher paying. Reducing debt is very key. Okay, so, and there's various ways that you can do that. So the one way is called the snowball method, which is where you start with your lowest debt, your smallest debt, not necessarily in terms of interest rates or term, but the one which has got the lowest balance, and you start paying any extra income you can do into that. Once that debt is paid off, instead of taking that money and now spending it on other things, that allocation that you had to that small debt is allocated to your next largest debt, eventually to a point where instead of maybe taking 10, 20 years to pay off all your debt, including your home loan, you can do it in a much shorter period and save on interest and get to a point where you've got more free capital. If you need to negotiate with your creditors, don't wait until it's too late. Okay, negotiate now. Go into and speak to a debt counselor if you need to, but don't let debt be something that stands in your way. Hannah's spoken about automating your savings. Okay, savings should not be an afterthought. In fact, in your budget, you should budget savings as an expense. Hannah referred to it as paying yourself first. So your first person you pay should be yourself, not trying to pay yourself with what is less. But also try and automate your bill payments. Okay, number one, it's going to save you time. And number two, it's not going to mean that you miss a date and incur late penalties or fees or anything like that. So automation is key. But in automating, make sure that you're also tracking your expenses. So don't automate and forget about it and then wonder where all your money went. Make sure that you're on that. Stay educated and informed. Constant learning. I'm a financial planner myself, and I constantly do CPD. I'm a eternal student. There is always something new to learn. And just when you think you know something, you're going to learn something that throws everything on the head. But stay informed. Go to workshops, go to webinars, take online courses on personal finance, join a group, have peer discussions, join a circle. Make sure that you're constantly keeping your knowledge up to date. And yes, education only goes so far. At some point, you're going to hit something which may be over your pay grade. It may be above something that you're comfortable with. And that's where seeking professional advice, so consulting with a financial advisor who's going to give you personalized guidance on the things you learned, is key in this. Importantly on this is keeping your mindset right, particularly if you're in a January state. Coming into a January state is all about mindset. So make sure you celebrate your wins. Okay. A debt repayment plan is not about when you're debt free. A debt repayment plan is about when you have paid off a particular debt, and take some time and celebrate those wins. Cut up your store cards, have a party about it. Okay. A cheap one, but have a party where you are celebrating the fact that you've just gotten rid of one debt and that's not there. And again, stay focused. A warrior is about being laser focused on your long-term goals and making sure you are committed to the financial plan that you have drafted. And I hope that I've given you some insights and thoughts into being a January warrior instead of a January warrior. And Anelisa, I'm going to now hand over to you to bring us home. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David and Hannah. Thank you for the introduction, David. So just a quick intro about myself. My name is Anelisa. I am a certified financial planner. I'll call myself a veteran in the industry because I've been in the industry for just over a decade now. So I might be giving away my age, I'm not sure, but yeah. So my topic today is basically saying your financial plan is not just a New Year's resolution. I kind of thought because it's the beginning of the year and we're coming off the holiday season, it would be a nice topic to kind of just chat about. Unfortunately, coming last, I might end up reiterating a lot of the things that Hannah and David said to me, but hopefully I can just add a few more pointers to what they've said. So for many of us, financial planning does become a part of our New Year's resolution. We aim to budget better, save for big goals, like putting down a deposit on a house, on a car, or even to build emergency savings or saving towards a dream overseas holiday, or even just as little as trying to make sure that next Christmas we have savings that's already available. These goals usually make their way onto a list of various New Year's resolutions that we make. It could be joining the gym. It could be reading more books. It could be committing to cooking 5 times a week, either to eat healthier or just to avoid Uber Eats drivers knowing your house or unit number just from the order name. But there's an interesting stat that I actually found out at the beginning of this year from the US. And basically, the study shows that most people quit their New Year's resolution on a Friday. Further to that, specifically, people quit their New Year's resolution on the second Friday in January. They've even come up with a name for it because it's so common, and it's Quitter's Day. Research also shows that by the second Friday, 23% of people have already given up on their resolutions. By the end of January, which is just a few days away, 43% have abandoned their resolutions altogether. And after 4 months, only 6 people are still keeping up with their resolutions. So for us all that are coming off the excitement of the holiday season, it's slowly fading away and we are getting back to our reality. As this webinar is titled, Back to Life, Back to Reality. I encourage us not to let our financial plan be yet another New Year's resolution that you have abandoned by the end of January or that you've forgotten about by April. I encourage us to shift our thinking. Let's see our financial plan as an ever-changing, life ongoing journey, one that we can actively commit to, so that by the end of the year, we are still making progress. A New Year's resolution is often a personal one-time commitment that we make at the start of the year. Usually it's during a break from our usual routines, like being on holiday with family, we're enjoying more social time, we're having a bit extra braais with our friends. But by shifting our focus and treating our financial plan as a journey rather than a one-time commitment, we acknowledge what true financial planning is about. It's not just a plan that is made to be blindly followed. It is a set of financial goals that require regular check-ins and ideally with somebody by your side as an accountability partner, mostly a financial planner. So my steps is how do you then change that New Year's resolution that you've maybe already made in terms of your financial planning into now a financial journey? And the first step of that, and I think I'm reiterating a lot of what Hannah and David had said previously, is building the foundation, and that is budgeting. I know budgeting sounds boring, but it's also the most valuable step. A budget allows you to see exactly what comes into your pocket and what goes out. Most people have a rough idea of their expenses, their debit orders, their monthly payments, how much goes to savings, how much they need to make sure is where. And everything outside of that is left for their spending. But a budget helps you to really understand where your money goes. Building a budget is not a one-time task. I think Hannah did mention it as well, but it requires to at least go back 3 months and look at your expenses. Now, I know we just came from December, so our expenses are a bit haywire. So we might just need to take an extra month back to be able to review our bank statements and track our spending. By doing that, you get to see what is your consistent spending, as well as what is your occasional spending. A budget should also reflect your lifestyle. By making a budget realistic and personal, you ensure firstly that you can stick to it comfortably, and secondly, that you can still enjoy your life. The second goal is setting your goals. So a goal is a milestone that you want to have achieved by a specific time frame. Setting goals can be both exciting and intimidating. It helps turn your dreams into achievable financial milestones. It could be consolidating your debt by a certain age. It could be maybe building up emergency savings. It could be saving for a holiday in the next 6 to 12 months. It could be saving for your children's 21st birthday, or better yet, your own milestone birthday. Planning to pay off your kids' university fees, basically outside of your salary, or even planning to retire early, 10 years earlier than the age of 65, let's say. Don't limit your thinking when you set your goal. Dream big, because your finances are a tool that can help you achieve these big goals. And if your goals feel bigger than your budget, that's okay. You can always go back and adjust your budget. Remember, like we said, it's a journey. It's not a resolution that we have to stick to. It will evolve. The third step is building your financial plan. This is where your financial planner comes in as an accountability partner. Now, I don't know if you're anything like me, but I have a very questionable sense of direction. Often while driving, I will have Waze or Google Maps that's open just in the background. And this is to make sure that, number one, I'm still on the right path. But number two, to make sure I know what traffic waits ahead, as well as if there's any incident ahead of the way. It allows me to reroute in time to either keep the same arrival time, even with a different direction, or just to adjust my arrival time knowing that there's something ahead. Building a financial plan is a lot like using Google Maps always in the background. You've set your goals, you know what your plan is. You might know the route, but you still need to check in regularly to make sure that you're on track. But also, if you encounter any obstacle or traffic along the way, you can adjust your path and make sure that you're still heading towards the right direction. Your financial roadmap is the same. Keep checking in, adjusting, and ensuring that you're on track. And then the fourth step is to stay aligned. And this is also the final step. So this is regularly checking in with your financial advisor or your accountability partner on the lifelong journey of your financial plan. Your life changes, your priority change. The person that you were when you made your goals in 2023 is not necessarily the same person when you make your goals in 2025. That's why it's important for you to review your plan with your financial planner to make sure that it still aligns and that you and your financial planner review your plan as well as make sure that your financial plan speaks to you. So before January ends, and as research shows that 66% of Americans have already either quit their New Year's resolution or are days away from abandoning them altogether. I encourage us to look at our financial plan as a lifelong goal, to take the step to build a partnership with a financial planner that will help you navigate your financial planning journey, as well as then to create a roadmap for not just 2025, but beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Anelisa. Thank you, David. And thank you, Hannah. I think if we look at what was said here today, and yes, we know that it was 3 times, reiterating, but that's how things stick. As if you keep saying the same thing over and over again, or keep doing the same thing over and over again. So I've got 1 or 2 questions here that I think would be a great add-on to this conversation. First of all, budgeting, we all know, is so important. And in the comments, some of our attendees have made reference to banking apps that have trackers for savings and expenditure and so on and so forth. But now Paul is asking, he says he thinks having a budget and knowing what you're spending roughly is the easy part. Being able to track and measure expenditure against your budget is the hard part. What do people use beside full-on accounting packages? And I think my answer would be Excel, but let's not go that way. So I'm going to ask the panelists, what would they suggest? How do you keep track of your budget? Anelisa, maybe start with you.
Okay, so I kind of use the easy route. I don't go Excel and I look at what my budget is projected versus the actual. I actually use FNB app. So the FNB app really helps that it kind of, with everything, because I mean, I use my phone to kind of tap everywhere I go. I never have cash. So that helps me know a lot of what my spending is about, because then I can see on the app what I've budgeted for. And you can actually put that in there if you say you want to only spend 2,000 Rand for entertainment, and then it actually categorizes it and you see where you've gone over or under budget, and it doesn't need me to kind of print a bank statement, sit with the Excel open and do the projections myself. So I take the easy way out.
Yes, they have done quite a bit of work on those apps as well in the last while. It's getting better every time I use it. Hannah, any ideas from your side?
So yeah, I think actually from my side personally, I think a good place to start is really to look at those 3 months worth of bank statements. Quite simply, I actually just took a pen and a paper and I categorized it, and every amount that I saw go off, I kind of put it all under, if it was entertainment or groceries or coffees, I put it under there and I actually totaled it. And, at that point there, you realize where you are overspending. And then an Excel is a good way to continue to track your spending. But sometimes it's nice. Everyone kind of learns differently. Everyone enjoys different levels of technology. But even if you have a good old pen and paper and you track it down and you write what you spend, that's a great way too. Obviously, technology and AI and all of these apps are making it easier and easier. So I don't think there's an excuse. But really what works for you, I think, is going to be the best way. I don't think it needs to be overcomplicated.
Agreed. I think the most important thing is that you actually start and have a look at what you're really spending your money on. I think in many cases, it's a bit of an eye-opener and a bit of a shock if you really sit down and calculate all those coffees and takeaways and the little sandwich that you buy when you haven't packed your lunch.
Yes.
David, you made a comment that I want you to expand on. You said something about planning your fun. Yeah. So explain to us exactly how that is going to work.
Yeah. So I mean, call it planned spontaneity or something like that. But really, the idea should be and when we talk about all of these things, it mostly sounds like negative. It mostly sounds like, you must plan for your future. You must plan for this. You must plan. You must sacrifice. Give up your weekly coffee or your monthly coffee. But the idea is plan for fun. And one of the stories I often use is when I started work, I was badgat and I was earning nicely and I was still living with my folks. I didn't have much. So what was I doing? I was actually buying myself lunch every single day. And then I spoke to somebody who said, well, what's your budget? And I'm like, I don't know. I've got money. I spend it. So doing the budget got me to a point where I understood that, going and buying that packet of chips, a pie and a Coke every single day was costing me between 30 and 40 Rand. Now, I mean, again, I might be giving away my age because nowadays it's closer to 70, 80 Rand for exactly the same thing. Plus, at a later stage, I actually had to get a gym contract because that pie, chips and Coke doesn't actually sit well on the body and things like that. But now what do? I'm not going to be somebody who then goes and says, okay, well, change it totally and make yourself a peanut butter and jam sandwich 5 days a week. So my plan was to say, well, Monday to Thursday, make yourself a sandwich and go to work with sandwich. On a Friday, go and take advantage of the chicken burger and chip special that the cafeteria had and still spend money, still enjoy yourself. And that's the big thing is if you're not meeting that balancing act and looking only forward, you're not living in today. So make sure you've got a fun budget. I think somebody, it's the app called Fudget. I would say a Funget. So that works quite nice.
No, I agree with that. I think the most important thing is to be honest with yourself. And we don't want you in this budgeting process to cut everything that is nice off, because what type of you still have to live. And you need to have fun having it. You can't just plan for the future all the time. Now, we've spoken about plans and budgets and everything else that goes with it. How do I put a plan together, and how do I get access to a financial planner or financial advisor to help me? I think most of the time what we get is some people say, I want to start doing this, but I don't know where to get the information. I don't know how to start. Hannah, any ideas, tips that you can give consumers on how to get going in this area?
Yeah, so I think that, starting out with understanding what it is you're either paying for, what you are contributing to, gathering any investment information if you have any, and then seeking financial help. So there's many CFP professionals out there that are willing to assist you. I don't think you should be scared to not reach out because you feel as though you either don't have enough money or you're not at that point in your life yet. Everyone can use financial planning, and most certainly everyone can use someone that's going to hold you accountable. So you've almost got to look at it as a life coach, someone that's going to question you, understand what it is you want to achieve, and help you put a plan in place. So reaching out to a financial advisor shouldn't be something you should fear and wait for until you have some money or until you have some problems. It's also okay to come see a financial advisor if you just have a few questions and everything's actually going really well.
So I want to add to that, and I'm going to ask David this question. So let's use an example of a conversation I had with my 21-year-old son over the weekend. And I mean, I'm a CFP myself, so he should know what the value of financial planning is, but he's extremely smart at this point in time. So his question to me is, what value can someone like that give to me that I can't? Why can't I just do it myself? David, what would you say to him? Because I didn't know.
Yeah, I say he's right, and I agree with him. No,
yeah, I didn't want to have the fight, so that's more or less how the conversation went.
I think, remember, there's a difference between data and information. Okay, and data is everything that is out there. Okay, and yeah, I can't show it now, but there's a famous graphic which just shows everything higgledy-piggledy. Okay, that's data. Putting in a sense and something that makes sense to you is information. Okay. One example I can use is that we've all heard that paying your home loan account down quicker is best. So if you've got 500 Rand extra, put it extra in, it saves you a lot of money. Okay. Somebody I spoke to was doing that, but what they were doing is they were drawing money out of a credit card which was in credit to pay into the home loan. So they were doing the right thing, because what they were doing is they were paying down their home loan easier, but they were swapping a low interest debt for a high interest debt. Okay. So that's a very clear example about there's data out there, and acting on the data could be wrong. Okay. And another common thing is people say, put money into a retirement annuity because the taxman will help fund your retirement. The question is, yes, it is a good strategy. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but is it right for you? Because there's so much more that goes into it. And a true financial planner is somebody who's not just going to tell you what you want to hear. It's somebody who's going to understand what your goals, your dreams, and your experiences are. And with those experiences is co-create a financial plan with you and guide you. They're not going to give you a financial plan. Okay, that's 1990 stuff where financial planners come and give you a financial plan. They're going to work with you where you bring your expertise about yourself and what you want to achieve, and they bring the expertise and the technical things of the traps that you could fall into if you don't know better. And that's really the value is. And then the second value is something that Hannah has spoken to a lot, is about an accountability partner. Okay. Anything you do in the dark, nobody really knows about or cares about. Okay. But if you're doing it in the light, if you're doing it where somebody else is watching you and you've got somebody to be accountable for, you're more likely to take action, because you don't want to rock up to a meeting and said, I was going to do A, B, and C. I didn't do it. So that's another big value add that a financial planner can add to it.
Yes, thank you very much for that. I absolutely agree. I think a lot of the value that financial planners add is intangible until you get to the end result, and then it's very tangible to see what was actually added. Anelisa, on that note, so one of the things that David and Hannah alluded to is the fact that people have excuses in saying, "But I don't have money. Why should I see a financial planner? You know, I'm only just starting out. I don't have savings. I don't have anything to invest." Why is that a fallacy? Why should everybody get proper financial advice, even though you might think that you are not in the cross section of our people that need it?
So I think it's important to get a financial planner early because it allows you to build the habit early. If I'm going to wait until I have money, my money habits are already atrocious because I've already started maybe with spending everything that I get and not saving. So now I can't now wait until I have R1 million to start a savings culture, or until my salary is at 60,000 Rand per month to start a savings culture. It needs to be habits that I've built from when I didn't have much to save, so that when I do get to that point, then you already know how to save, how to budget, how to put all your finances in place, and even starting early. If, for example, let's say you don't have enough money, but when you start early, you also have the power of compounding that works with you. So it might not be a lot that you're putting away, but as you get increases and as you increase your savings, then you also get compound interest that helps you along the way. So that by the time you do get to that salary that you have in mind, that you now deserve a financial advisor or financial planner, you've already got money that you've been saving and it's building up for you.
So I think we're getting closer to the end. There is no extra questions at this point in time. So I'm going to ask each of the speakers in the order that you started to leave us with one thought, and then we'll end off. So Hannah, you go first.
So I think some people might be in that state of inertia, and I always say just start. It doesn't need to be big. It doesn't need to be this massive put together financial plan, but just start somewhere small. It can be, something as simple as, like David said, you don't have to give up all the coffees, but go, actually, I don't need a coffee 5 days a week. I can compromise and I can choose to do this. And put something exciting in place to replace that, whether that be being financially free from debt or going on a holiday. Put something to look forward to and just start small.
Thank you, Anna. And I think you took what David wanted to say, because I looked at his face when you started speaking. So David, over to you.
Yeah, so luckily I make stuff up on the spot. So yeah, I was going to say just start, but I think the best thing I can say is have fun with it. Okay, I mean, quite a lot of the discussions that you're going to have are going to get serious and talk about serious things like, if you pass away, what's going to happen to your income? And if you don't have enough money for retirement, what does that look like? But the biggest thing about it is, if you're not having fun with it, if you're not enjoying the process, it is going to be a downer. So enjoy it, have fun, and yeah, make the fudget. I'm going to start trademarking that one.
Thank you, David. And then Anelisa.
Yeah, the thing about being last, now you have to kind of figure out what to say after everyone's taken the words right out of your mouth. I would maybe say, maybe just educate yourself however you can on financial planning, on different things that tie to financial planning. There's so much resources and there's so many people out there that are maybe, doing channels or just information that you can get access to. And you don't have to wait until you're starting to earn a salary, but you can even start along with your pocket money or whatever it is. But I would say just educate yourself from a young age. If something's interesting to you, then keep going on and learning more about it, so that when you do start earning a salary, you already know how to kind of prioritize your budget.
Absolutely agreed. And on that note, I am going to ask you to visit our FPI My Money 123 page. Google it, you will find it right at the top. On that page, we've got to find a financial planner option. We urge you to work with registered professional members of the Financial Planning Institute. We set ourselves apart by ensuring that our competencies are 100% up to date, that we are on top of what's happening in legislation, and we hold ourselves to a voluntary higher standard than what is available out there. If you saw the news, you would have seen that we have just reached a number of 5,000 certified financial planners in South Africa. So there are 5,000 people out there that you can choose to, and that doesn't even include our registered financial practitioners and our financial services advisors added to that list. So there are a lot of names. There's someone in your area. Go and see someone, speak to someone, and as Hannah said, just start today. Thank you very much, everybody. It was wonderful to have you online, and thank you for your time to all of our speakers. Keep an eye open. We'll be doing consumer education webinars monthly. It will all be free. Invite your friends, invite your clients. We are just going to educate South Africa this year. Thank you so much.